Hello there, Instagram lovelies. Hello there, Facebook lovelies. It's so good to be here with you. I'm Donna Hoffman. They call me the Interior Design Advocate because I advocate on behalf of women just like you. You love design, you love decorating, you're working on your home, and somehow your results are just not quite there, or they're there and you want them to be phenomenal and you're only getting good, or they're okay and you want great. We are on a mission here at the Interior Design Advocate to wipe out the ugly room, to wipe out the disappointing room, and we do that through the phenomenal strategies and online courses that we offer here. So every week on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I like to stop what's happening here at the studio. Hello, I used to speak for a living, hard to believe. I like to stop what's happening here at the studio and come out here to join you to teach about a topic, talk about a topic, and usually we'll take questions about that topic. Well, today is more of a conversation because I want to hear from you about what you believe is the most confounding, drive you crazy part of window treatment design. Yes, that is today's topic. I'm going to give you a little mini lesson about window treatment design. And specifically kind of the hidden truth, the ugly truth, and some of the myths around window treatment design. And as you're arriving, I'd love for you to type into the comments section, whether you're on Instagram or whether you're on Facebook, what do you find most confounding about window treatments when you're working on something in your home? So as I'm waiting for you to do that, I already see comments starting to come in. As I'm waiting, hey, Instagram, you guys got to keep up because Facebook, they're out commenting you. You guys got to step up. So anyway, let's talk about some. I'm getting all kinds of loves and hearts now from Facebook. Don't let them outdo you, Instagram. So let's talk about some of the myths. Oh my gosh, there is a biggie, and it's like the elephant in the room. So we have to talk about it. I can't tell you how many women get really hard on themselves when it comes to window treatment design because you somehow think it's supposed to just be, easy. I pick out a pair of pants, I pick out a window treatment. Can I tell you something you may not know is that window treatment design for wise women, wise design lovers like you, is one of the most confounding parts of interior design. It is. It's a huge stressor. And I can remember long before I was an interior designer, trained and practiced and happily, luckily award-winning, I remember what it felt like to be looking through the pages of a catalog or shopping online or talking to a window treatment professional. And on catalog and online, I felt overwhelmed by the choices, didn't know what the right way to go, wrong way to go was. And when I was talking to a window treatment professional, I was always thinking, okay, what do they know that I don't know? And turns out the answer is a lot, a lot. So what I want you to know is, first of all, there's nothing wrong with you if you find window treatment design for your home kind of frustrating or confusing or overwhelming or nerve-wracking. So normal. There's a lot of strategy, but once you know it, it starts to become pretty darn easy. Another big myth around interior design where window treatments are concerned, and I hear this one a lot, there's this misunderstanding that window treatments will block your view. Bad window treatments will block your view. But when you have a well-selected and designed treatment, and by that, guys, I don't mean it has to be custom or semi-custom. It can be ready-made. If you have the dollars for semi-custom or you have the dollars for custom, great. But what I'm telling you now, that window treatments, when they're well planned, designed, and selected, they should not ever block your view. What they really do is they highlight your view. Yes, window treatments or a treated window make view more important. They draw more focus and attention to that view. Now, are there moments in design, if you're uber modern or maybe you're California casual, when, yeah, you wouldn't do a window treatment? Maybe you've got really cool steel frame windows, or maybe you're doing a modern view and you just don't want anything on the window. Well, that's different. If you have an intentionally untreated window because that's appropriate for your design vision, your design style, or your design fingerprint, that's perfect. But if your windows are untreated or undertreated because you are afraid of making a decision, don't know what to do, That is the kiss of death for any room. So that brings me to another myth about window treatments, a hidden truth. Well, the idea is that window treatments are sort of an afterthought. They're not as important as, let's say, the sofa or the bedding. Wrong. Your window treatments are key drivers to the success and beauty of every single room. That's true for any design style. That's true for any budget that you're working in. I will tell you that window treatments, more so than just about any other element in a room, can so powerfully transform that room, elevate that room, complete the room, so much so that here in the luxury interior design world, I will share with you that when a client of ours has tens of thousands of dollars of furniture, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of furniture, whatever the size of the project, we work on all kinds of sizes. When the furniture comes in, before those window coverings go up, the rooms look naked and bare. I don't care how much was spent on those beautiful furniture appointments. That's how powerful window treatments are. So when I see wise design lovers like you leaving window treatment design as an afterthought or a later thought, it needs to be part of your total project planning pretty much from the beginning, particularly when you're creating your concept. And if you're just joining us now, I definitely am going to encourage you to write to me in the comments section, what do you think is the most confounding or annoying or irritating or scary part of window treatment design? What bugs you the most? And if there are questions coming in from Instagram or statements coming in from Instagram, there are. I'm going to read some of those, and I'm going to read some of what's going on for from Facebookers, because I want to tell you part of what we're doing right now with you. I want to get the conversation going. I want to hear from you what really drives you crazy. And next week, we're going to do the Facebook Live for you based upon the most popular answers from your window treatment conundrums this week, okay? So you really are crafting your own Facebook Live for next week. So let me take a look at some of the comments that are coming in, and then I'll do a little more teaching. So Marcia B is saying, you know, determining the how high to hang for the windows. That's a real point of concern and frustration or confusion. So how high to hang is hers, or how wide off the window it should stack. These are all great strategy questions, really, really great. So keep sending in those questions. Instagram, Facebook has a bunch of questions. Okay, so Jennifer McCann is just saying she's ready for this. Are you ready for this? She is. All right, Jennifer, I want to see some really cool things coming from you. Okay, so Jennifer is saying one of her concerns with window treatments is not looking trendy. Mary is saying on 8-foot ceilings, should drapes always be hung close to the ceiling? Another great question. Katie and I are going to be writing all these down, taking screenshots, as again, we're going to look at the most popular questions and craft an entire Facebook around the most popular questions. Okay, Wendy is asking something I see asked so often. Sliding patio doors, how to dress those. Linda G is saying, hey, just knowing what treatment to use. Linda, I hear that a lot. Back to the brilliance of IG Instagrammers. Are window treatments supposed to be a focal point or a background note? Who asked that question? That was brilliant, Instagram. That's a brilliant question. I'm going to say it again. Should window treatments be a focal point or a background note? Great question. Answer yes and yes. Actually, it depends on what you're doing in the room, and we'll be talking about that in a little while, in a couple of weeks, actually. Lori is asking measurements and window treatment lingo. Window treatment lingo can be a real pain in the fabric bolt. I get it. So there's a way to demystify that as well. And measuring, listen, measure twice, cut once. You got to make sure you're measuring properly. If you're doing your own fabrication, I don't fabricate, I design it, and I outsource my fabrication. Carol is saying, dust and dirt drive me crazy. Oh, for window treatments? I know. That's a thing. And I'll tell you what, a lot of home fabric cannot be cleaned. And when you try to dry clean it, a window treatment, you've got your fabric and your lining, or you might have fabric lining and interlining in between. If you try to dry clean that, things are shrinking at different rates and you will ruin a treatment. So I hear if you are a dust and dirt person, you might be, window coverings made of fabric might drive you loopy. I'm not supposed to be answering it. I'm supposed to be just talking through the conversation here. Jill is saying, beautiful lined silk fabric in ready-mades, but they don't hang like custom You know, what do you do when you have a ready-made that isn't quite hanging like custom? You know, there are things you can do. There are so many teaching points that you guys are bringing up. It's fabulous how brilliant you are. Carol is agreeing with Joanne on Facebook. Still getting waves and things from Instagram. I see more questions coming in from Instagram. Katie, you still sending those over to me? Because I can't. Darling3007 is saying no wall space next to one window. Things aren't, you know, should things be looking symmetrical? That has to do with your stack. Yep. What do you do when you have what I call the weird windows, right? The windows that confound you because they're not perfectly evenly spaced through the room, or even more popularly, they're not hung at the same heights. They're like, French door ends here, your windows end here. I've seen it all, girls. So your concerns and confusions are so normal. Linda's saying that she had Smith & Noble come out and they suggested a fabric shade. Now that it's been installed, you don't like it. Oh, no. Okay, and Linda said she feels closed in when it's closed up at night. These are all great confounding questions that you're asking, and these are not questions that we have not heard before. So keep them coming, and I'm going to keep doing some teaching. So another hidden truth, and if you're just joining, I want to know, what do you find most frustrating, make you crazy, can't stand it about window treatments? What confuses you the most about window treatments? So a couple of other hidden truths about window treatments in total. They are a key focal point in a room. Why? Because they are surrounding all the glass you paid for, whether you're paying a rent check or a mortgage payment. That glass is usually tied somehow to a primary or secondary focal point in a room. Now, someone earlier said, hey, should they be the star of the room? Should they be a backup player in the room? That's a question of your total design fingerprint, how you tick in design, and what you're trying to accomplish in your room. That's an early answer that you need to come to when you're first designing your room. But even if your window treatments are a backup player in the room, they still have a significant impact on the room. And that's why I say they're part of that total focal point as well. Another power point with window treatments, that's part of the hidden truth about them, is that they are massive connectors in a room. You use your window treatments to connect your chair to your bedding, or your sofa to your rug, or to make the rug make sense in the room. Window treatments are kind of like a through line. So if you're facelifting a room, they're a great thing to include as one of the three elements, let's say, that you're changing in a room. And if you're designing a room from scratch, a really important concept to develop. Do you guys all know the difference between a decision and a concept in design? You don't, you're chasing your tail. So let me make your life easier. You know, there's an idea that you have about something, and then you've got to start to develop that idea and see if it's viable in your space so that you can finally make that decision. Early on in your planning, that's when you're doing planning. Listen to me, my New Yorker is popping out. It's popping out. I'm tired. I'm real tired. I've had meeting after meeting after meeting today. When you're planning, I still sound like a New Yorker. Oh, there you go. You can take the girl out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of the girl. I don't know if that's good or bad. Please, I hope you're not throwing tomatoes at me if you're an anti-New Yorker out there. Anyway, there's a difference between concept development and sourcing, decision making. And so many of the wise women that I coach, when they first come to me, you know, you're out there shopping, you're out there making decisions, but you haven't developed your concept. Imagine just what it feels like when you go shopping and you're maybe making a dinner party for 12 people and you haven't stopped and planned your menu, and you're just wandering through the food store thinking, well, that looks good and that looks good, and you spend 3 times what you should have, and you have ingredients that you don't need and things that don't go together. You got to do your concept development, and then you go into your final planning. And then the other thing that really is a hidden truth about window treatment design, there is a need for you to master the anatomy of a window as well as the anatomy of a window treatment. They're two different discussions, and what the treatment does to the window and what the treatment does to the room are two different things, the aesthetic versus the functional. And you need to master both of them. I can remember, like I said, before I was a designer trained and practiced and studied, I remember feeling at such a loss when I was talking to a window treatment professional, because I felt that they really knew a lot that I didn't know, and I didn't know what I didn't know, which made me nervous. And like I said earlier, it was a lot that they knew. So I want to invite you right now, if you are not already on our mailing list, why aren't you on our mailing list? You're on our mailing list if you get our newsletter once a month and our monthly design checklist, so you can quickly facelift something in your home. Get on that mailing list so that you can be part of the invitation that's going to drop in about 2 weeks. And that is when tickets are going to go on sale for our live Window Boss Immersion. Yes, it is called How to Design and Select Window Treatments for Your, I'm saying it wrong, How to Design and Select Your Perfect Window Treatments Like a Boss. And it is a first ever live online design immersion. It's 2.5 hours on Saturday, February 23rd. And we are going to be diving into everything from what window treatments do, what the different type of treatments are that are available to you, how you combine them, how you work through all those window situations, from French doors to unevenly hung windows to two-story windows to you name the specialty window. We're going to be doing it all, so much so that you are going to leave that immersion on Saturday the 23rd with an actual developed plan to apply to whatever window treatment issue that you bring to the course. And it is not a workshop, this is not a webinar, this is an actual mini course deep dive into window treatments, because I saw so many of the wonderful women that I coach and teach doing beautiful work, and I thought, oh, if I could just take them a little further on their window treatments, their spaces would be extraordinary. Or I was seeing women that I coach asking questions, and I started to see the same questions coming up. So I thought, okay, I'm taking people on a wonderful journey. And it's more than just a wonderful deep dive. We're going to be doing a pop-up Facebook group that's private just for ticket holders of the event. And that Facebook group will stay live for a full 8 weeks after the event, so that if you have follow-up questions, or if you have, you want to post progress, or if you want to post a success, you can do all of that as well. So it's kind of like going to see a favorite concert or show, or I don't know, hockey game, and then you've got 8 weeks of follow-up support plus some great bonuses, resource bonuses, where to find things. And we're not concentrating on any one type of treatment. We're going to be going from ready-mades into semi-customs to custom, and also looking at how to cheat your ready-mades so that you can really give them a beautiful, beautiful look. So what I'd love for you to do right now, keep putting in questions about what you think is really confounding about window treatments. And next week, when I do a Facebook Live at Tuesday, 4 p.m., Katie and I are going to look at all the questions and select the 1 to 3 top popular questions. And I say 1 to 3 because if there's one question that's so popular and a really big topic, that might be the whole Facebook Live, but it'll definitely be a continuation of what you're asking me about today. So let's see what brilliant questions the Instagrammers are putting in, that things that you can't stand about or are confused about with window treatments. Okay, hang on. Alrighty, so Instagram is saying, I can't stand when ready-mades don't fit properly. I know. Well, there are things you can do, and ready-mades are confounding because of the sizes in which they come and the ceiling heights that you're working with. So I get you. Also, should treatments be patterned or plain? I get that question a lot. And then I also see the question, when do you bring window treatments to your clients? Okay, well, that's a whole different can of worms. That's as a professional, how do you handle it? I will tell you right now that the course that I'm talking about is definitely geared for women working on their own home. Will designers who've never apprenticed with a designer get a lot out of it? You betcha. But it's not a course for designers per se. So I won't be diving into that type of question, Marcia, but I think, Marcia, if I know which Marcia you are, you're in one of my private groups, so you can send me some questions, professional to professional, on that as well. Let's see what other popular questions we see coming in, what Facebook brilliant women have to say here. Patricia's saying, I finally made it to a live video. Yay. Patricia, we're also happy to have you. I hear the applause. Do you? I hear it. I hear it coming from Instagram. I hear it coming from Facebook. It's good to have you, Patricia. Let's see. Patricia is saying, what do you think about plantation shutters instead of blinds or curtains? I get that question. I see that question a lot. Patricia's saying amen. She's a New York girl. All right, Patricia, we'll do some coffee. Sandra is just saying help when it comes to window treatments. Sandra, how cute are you? I see that a lot too. So anyway, okay, Rhonda has a whole paragraph. Okay, Rhonda McDavid, I'm rolling up my sleeves, reading what Rhonda has to say. Rhonda's saying, should treatments all be the same or symmetrical from the outside of the house? I hear that question as well. By the way, if you live in a particular type of subdivision, sometimes they actually control what color your linings have to be. So make sure that you're copacetic with your division, you know, if you're like in a townhouse division or something. So Linda's saying, Rhonda's saying that she has symmetrical windows in the front of her house, but she wants curtains with white lining. So she is again asking, you know, does it all have to look the same from the outside of your home? And that's a question I see a lot as well. Joyce is saying, I don't know why, but I'm not on your mailing list. Joyce, what up, girl? Go to that link I posted. That'll get you on our mailing list. Oh my goodness, you're a member of both Facebook groups, and you're, I don't know, Joyce, we'll have to talk about that, Katie. Why isn't Joyce on the mailing list? I don't know. Katie went, we're going to fix it though, Joyce, because I'd like you to sign up and get your name on that mailing list. Patricia's saying that she's also a member of both of my private groups. Oh, TIDA team, I'm smelling a problem. Okay, we got to fix this, girls. If you're not on that mailing list, definitely get onto the list, because we're not going to do a lot of promotion on this deep dive. I'm going to be sending out invites to our mailing list, so you want to be on the mailing list. Diana is saying, I'm frustrated by ready-made window treatments that are not even lengths. They're labeled 96, but they can be 93. Or they're 93 on one end and shorter on the other end. Diana, I want to know how much you're paying for those panels. If you're going for the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheapest, quality control can be an issue. So if you're going ready-made, guys, if you can, and this is an ideal world, we all have budgets, but if you can, I would buy the best quality ready-made you can, and I would also keep it as simple as possible, with the simplest in terms of embellishment, as in AKA plain. But that is frustrating when you think you're getting one product and you're not. But I got to tell you something, if it'll cheer you guys up. Manufacturers sometimes change their specs, or manufacturing glitches happen, not just on window treatments, but on just about you name it. Katie and I had something delivered to a job recently. We expected these ottomans to kind of go under the console, and they didn't exactly go under the console because the specs were wrong. We had an issue with the builder. The builder was frustrated because a TV mechanism was supposed to come out from underneath the bed. Well, the manufacturing spec was different online than in reality. So Diana, return those things. If they're not well made, back they go. You work too hard for your money. Sandy is saying plantation shutters, halfway up, halfway down. I get a lot of plantation shutter questions. Rhonda's saying she has a room that needs privacy, so it has automatic shades inside the casing. The windows have a heavy surround. She'd like drapes on both sides, but she doesn't know how to handle or where to put the curtain rod in relationship to the trim. These are all great questions. Karen is saying, I can make curtains for my home. Do all the curtains need to be lined? All right, Karen and everybody, here's the story. I'm going to give you a little quick teaching lesson based upon Karen's great question. You know those rooms that you love on Pinterest and Houzz and Instagram? So you guys know that those are all custom treatments, right? I'm going to be teaching during the deep dive not taking a long time doing this, but I'm going to show you something that's really interesting so you see why those treatments look fuller. The linings and the interlinings are part of that. So if you are making your own treatments, or if you're going semi-custom but trying to save some money, and you're thinking, should I go online? The only time I would tell you to go online is if you really want a sheer if you're doing a sheer product, maybe something really gauzy and whimsical. But if you want something that looks really full and rich, minimum, you want a lining. Ideally, you want an interlining as well. Okay, so that's just a little something for you too. More questions. Oh, Katie's telling me final 2 questions, and we've got time for the final 2 questions before I have to go and get into another conference call. Alrighty, so I'm going to go back and look at maybe 2 of the questions that came in here. And if you did not put in a question, no problem. We're going to be going in and looking at the most common themes that we see in questions, and we're going to base next week's Facebook Live about that. And I definitely want you to sign up on the mailing list, like I have in my description over here or over there, wherever it is on your screen, to join our mailing list if you're not already on the list, so that you will get an invitation to our free, not our free, it is paid, but great early bird pricing for our deep dive window immersion. Okay, so let's see. I want to take, Katie, what do you think some of the really big questions were that came in? Not knowing what treatment to use is a massive question. And that is such a big question that I have to handle it in our design immersion. And when I'm done with you, you are going to so know what to do. The playing field is going to just shrink for you. It's not going to feel confusing, but I can't possibly answer that in a Facebook Live. Let's see. Okay, how about Jennifer McCann's question about not looking trendy? I get that question a lot. It's kind of hilarious to me when I see some bloggers who I really love their work, or Instagrammers, you know, making proclamations, you know, you have to have a white kitchen. That's the only thing that will stay non-trendy. Or you can't do blah, blah, because it will look trendy. Listen, guys, trends happen. You cannot beat the trends. I think I said this last week, you know, if you were doing your window treatments in the 90s and the early 2000s, you probably were doing swags and jabots, those and people were telling you, this is classic. This has its roots back in Paris, you know, 17th century Paris. That's how classic it is. How's it going to go out of style? It went out of style. It went out. Something else came in, simplicity. So if you really want to do something that will hold its trend value as long as possible, I would say keep your window treatments very simple. I immediately was going to do a Godfather quote. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, and keep your window treatments really simple. Keep your window treatments simple. Don't do pattern on them. Keep them very simple in terms of what the header is. You guys all know what the header is. That's where it attaches at the top to your rod. Simple Romans, those really seem to, a flat Roman seems to really kind of hold its trend. And then if you want to do a trend element, like a particular pattern, Jen and everyone else who's worried about doing trendy things with your window treatments, throw those trendy things on pillows, low-cost rugs, maybe a splash accent chair, that sort of thing. Certainly accessories, things that you can swap out more easily. I will tell you that I have walked into homes that I designed 15 years ago, and where the window treatments were uber simple and restrained, simple panels, simple Romans, they look as current and crisp today and relevant today as they did back then. So I would say simplicity. I wouldn't go for lots and lots of embellishment. And I certainly wouldn't do anything super curvy and overly detailed if you just want something that's just going to go beyond the trends. Okay, so that's what I would say to you. Go simpler versus more embellished. And let's see if there was a good Instagram question that we'll answer now too. I think I kind of answered that. I'll go in a little deeper. Are window treatments supposed to be a focal point or a background note? Yes and yes. It depends on what you're trying to do in the room. If you are starting a room from scratch and you see in your inspiration images that you really love when the window treatment is strong. Now, I'm not contradicting myself. I know you're going to say, hey, you said keep it simple. Guys, you could make it a strong color contrast, but it's solid, right? You can do a solid, dark, I don't know what, navy with pale gray walls, and that window treatment is going to pop forward. Or you can do a light, creamy, quiet, solid panel or Roman and paint the walls a rich, deep jade green or rich, marvelous, deep charcoal gray. I mean, that's going to jump off that wall, right? So don't think that you've got to get all like, all kinds of detail and bip on all of those treatments to make them a focal point or a really wild, wonderful pattern. You can do a pattern to do that, most certainly, but if you're worried about sustaining with a trend line, you want to go simpler. But you decide conceptually at the beginning of your project, whether it's a facelift or a project from the start, what's the direction of these window treatments? Are they kind of the backup singer for Gladys Knight? Are they the pips in the room, keeping a rhythm going? creating warmth, or doing all the other things window treatments do, bringing in a color, bringing in a mood, creating privacy options, light control options. But these decisions, backup singer or focal point in the room, that is made so early in a project. I can't wait to share with you some photography that we haven't taken yet officially of one of the projects we've been working on. One of the stunning living rooms that we recently completed. I got to tell you, from the beginning, I knew these window treatments were going to be a pow in the room. So everything I designed was always with that in mind. So I go back to one of the myths I started with at the beginning of this Facebook Live, guys. Window treatments are not an afterthought. They're not a meh. They require budget preservation. They are as important in the room as the sofa. They are as important in the room as the dining room chairs. They are visually mission critical. So star player or backup singer, you got to make that decision very early on when you're developing your concept. Okay? So next week, here, 4 p.m. Eastern, we're going to go back in and review what you wrote as your common, can't stand it, drives me crazy questions, and we're going to craft a part 2 to this Facebook Live, and I'll be teaching based upon some of the common concerns and questions that we see coming down the pike. I invite you to please join our mailing list if you're interested in being part of that wonderful live design event. So many of you asked us to do a meetup. And we are considering doing something live in person in an actual city sometime later this year. But we also thought, let's do something that doesn't require anybody to leave home. You can be in your PJs on a Saturday on February 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we'll wrap up at 3:30. There will be an option, of course, for if you're on the West Coast, you can still get easily to this because we made it intentionally 1 p.m. Eastern, and ticket holders will have access to a limited time replay. If you can't make it on the 23rd, sign up anyway, because I know life can come up. So you'll have that replay option if you are a ticket holder, and then it will come down after about 4 weeks. But the Prop-Up Facebook group will stay up for a full 8 weeks. We are so excited about this. Oh my gosh, we've got so much going on here. You know me, I always like to over-deliver, and this is going to be really something. So, all right, my dolls, listen, I've got a conference call to prep for, so I'm going to get out of here now, sending you oodles of hug, lots of love, and I will see you next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, to continue this discussion. I'll be answering more of your personal project questions as I teach about your big bugaboo, can't stand it, driving me crazy questions. So until next time, guys, lots of love and a big hug.